Welcome back everyone to your C programming tutorial series. Now in the previous video I talked about how to get input from the user and how to take that and put it on the console, so output that to the console. So you can see here we have a radius, and what we're doing is we are actually taking the radius from the user and then we're printing that radius. But now I want to actually figure out the area of this circle, which is essentially what we're trying to do in this app here. Whenever you want to calculate something, you're going to need a location to store it. Anytime we want to store information in a program, we need some kind of variable. So we are going to create another variable. Where exactly are we going to want to put this variable in our code though? Do we put it up here? Do we put it in here? Or down here? Well, we actually want it about here. The reason we want it here is because the area is actually going to be calculated from the radius. So the radius needs a value, and the radius doesn't get a value until this line. You could just the same put it right here. It doesn't really matter because this is just a print statement. And in fact, we're not even going to need that print statement anymore because all I want to do is output the area. So let's just get rid of that whole line. Now let's create another variable, int area. So we are going to create a variable to store the calculated area. And how do we get the area? Well, this is where the formula comes in. And the way you calculate the area from a radius is you take pi, which is 3.14159, and you multiply that by radius squared. Well, how do we square something in programming? The easiest way is to just multiply the variable by itself. I mean, isn't that what squaring something means? So if you have radius squared, it's the same thing as radius times radius. So radius times radius. Now, do you guys notice anything wrong with this code? This line of code actually has one problem in it. The problem is that we are making this an integer, and an integer is always a whole number. And almost any time you multiply something by this, you're not going to get a whole number. So this is faulty code. You could consider this a logical error. A logical error is when the code compiles, it works, but the result is not what we are expecting. There is a problem in the code that produces an incorrect result. So to fix this, we are going to need a new data type. Now, a data type is literally just the type of data. Int is an example of a data type, and that stores whole numbers. Well, there's also a data type that can be used to store numbers with decimal places. If we were to just use this integer data type, and we got a value, let's say 76 point whatever, well, this would actually be truncated to an integer, and that means that everything after the decimal point is just deleted. It's not rounded, it's truncated. This is not what we want. So to fix this, we need to use the data type called double. I would say that we are correctly storing the data, but how do we output the data? Well, if you were to just copy that line we had previously, we had something like printf, and then in here we had, quotes and %i inside of them, and then we just passed in that variable, area. Well, this isn't going to work like we were hoping. That's because this %i is specific to printing integers. And we don't want to print an integer anymore. We want to print everything, including what comes after the decimal. The correct conversion character that we are going to use is actually a % and then an F. The reason we are going to use that is because F is short for floating point value. And we'll get into all the data types and fancy words like that, but double is an example of a floating point value, so that works just fine. But we should probably give some more information like, hey, what exactly is this variable? So in here, let's say the area of a circle with %i radius is %f. And then in here, we're going to have to also pass in the radius. Just like that. And then we'll run it. Please enter a radius, 5. 78.539750. So hopefully that gives you guys some satisfaction writing your very first program that actually does something kind of cool. You can run this as many times with different values and try all kinds of cool things. So thanks guys for watching. In the next video, we'll be talking about some more of the basics of C programming. So be sure to check it out and click subscribe. Thanks guys, and I'll see you then.